If I'm truly being honest with y'all, one thing I've not been able to stop thinking about is the tariffs. It's like is all I can think about, because all I read about, because it seemed like everybody is like, oh, this is bad. I know people who do not watch the news at all that are like, why is everything red? Did everybody change logos or something? Every time I turn on TV, everything red. What is that? My TV bleeding, something going on. No, in case you have not been aware, in case you're trying to protect yourself and go about your day, there's been a bit of a trade war going on. The wildest thing about a trade war is that you are allowed to, like, okay. I was trying to put this in perspective. Okay, you know how when you were like on the playground and, you know, somebody would be like, my dad can beat up your dad. And you were like, oh, you think your dad can beat up my dad? It's like, yeah, I think my dad can beat up your dad. And then, you know, kid one over here is like, yeah, well, my dad goes to CrossFit. And, you know, kid two is like, yeah, well, my dad has been to jail. Sort of the CrossFit of life. So I bet you my dad can beat up your dad. And then, you know, other kid, CrossFit kid, dad is like, my dad, he has swords. He has swords, so you can try to beat him up, but he'll chop your dad up. And then kid two is like, well, my dad has guns. That's actually why he had to go to the CrossFit of life. It's because he has lots of those. A couple swords too, but he prefers to bring the guns when he has issues. And then, CrossFit sword, dad, kid is like, yeah, well, my dad is 6'5", so he could definitely beat up your dad. And then, gun, jail. Kid is like, oh, my dad is 5'2", so he has quite a chip on his shoulder. So your dad will be dying, all right? And that's kind of what a trade war is like. You know what I mean? It's like nothing has to happen at the moment, but it is a lot of being behind the desk like, I bet you my economy can beat up your economy. And we know that Trump loves tariffs because even in his first term, he had a lot of tariffs on China for steel and everything. And he campaigned on tariffs and what he thought tariffs would do, at least what he says that they'll do for the U.S. economy in the long run. And so we know that he is serious about the tariffs. I think there were definitely some people that thought that he wasn't serious about the tariffs, and that was a mistake because he was very serious about the tariffs. He was so serious about the tariffs that apparently, now look, I'm gonna do my best here. I am both paraphrasing for the sake of brevity and going off of things that I've read and things that I've been told, and I am not an economist. So I'll do my best job, but I'm telling you, I'm gonna be wrong, okay? But I'm gonna be as close to right as possible on purpose. But apparently this man loves tariffs so much that right when he took office, there were conservative Trump voting Republican economists who, while leaning right, still understand the economy. They still, that's not a dig. I'm saying that the two things can exist together. I'm saying that they understand the economy and they vote the way they vote, but they know the numbers, is what I'm saying. Because I'm not an economist. They understand the economists. kind of. So they immediately went to work coming up with tariff plans so that way whenever Trump wanted to enact his tariffs, they would have the numbers ready, right? And so they did all the math and they did all the going back and forth and did all the figuring out that could be figured, you know? And then they went to Trump and he wasn't happy with the plan apparently because in order to enact the tariffs the way that he wants, the numbers, a lot of them at least, were quite small. So then Trump, paraphrasing, but he was like, what is this 1.7? What is this 2.8, these 2.3, this 0.8? No, we need big numbers. We need to impress the people. You gonna send me out there and embarrass me in front of America? I need big numbers. Get me some big numbers, which apparently is why when he walked out with that poster board, you know that... You saw the board. You know that board that... You saw that poster board. It looked like homework, right? Like that poster board. Yeah, that poster board out, and he was going down the line, right? He was going down and just naming places like 10, 10, 10, 10, 10, 10, 10, little bit of jelly donut, 10, 10, 10, 10, 10, 10, 10, a little bit of chicken grease. That was not 100, that was a 10, 10, 10, 10, 94. You know, because he hit the world with 10% tariffs. If you were anywhere on earth, you could get this 10. Please don't think you can't get this 10 just because you uninhabited. Anybody can get it. Anybody can get it. Please believe me when I tell you. Anybody can get it. All right? You think you cute because you just got some little aminals on your little island? You still getting it, all right? We don't care. This is America. We do what we do when we feel like it. 10, 10, 10, 34, 10, 10, 10, 10, 78, 10, 10, 10. And it was perplexing. The economists didn't understand it. Top Republicans didn't understand it. Even the people that were in support of Trump and his tariffs couldn't tell you that they really understood it. No one really understood it because there wasn't too much to understand. Everybody who does numbers was like, ooh, this is not numbers. This is not the numbers that I thought it was when I thought They were on like CNBC, basically any money channel, any money news channel, when these tariffs went out, they were on there cursing live. They were like, fine us, we don't care, we're all gonna die. You think I care about $10,000? I'll throw you another couple. The dude who does the bleeps must have had money in the market because he was gone. They were up there cursing live. I couldn't believe it. Normally, you'd even see the blurry mouth. I saw them enunciate the swear words. I was like, okay. This might be bad then. If the people who do money all day are upset and they looking at the red and everything look upside down on the graphs, I'm pretty sure it's supposed to go up like this. Yeah, I mean, you getting a little low. Dow Jones was not playing. That Dow Jones was like, hey, I'm dead, y'all. No. Yeah, that S&P 500 was down to 5. It was bad. It's like these were rough moments we were in, and nobody really understood why. We lost $3 trillion of value in the market in a day. People were showing me pictures of the stock market and the S&P and the Dow, and then their portfolio, and I was like, man, we got to pick a different color because that much red ain't good for your eyes. But yeah, apparently, there were economists that tried to figure out something that would do what Trump said that he wanted to do, but he was like, no, I need to go out to the people and really make a statement. And I need to make a statement for the other nations so they take this thing seriously. So, 10, give me some 34s, give me some 55s. I'll take anything, just bring it all to me. And they were like, sir, that isn't math. That may not work, but Trump was so dead set on going to other countries like, you get a tariff, you get a tariff, you get a tariff, like an opposite Oprah, like a reverse Oprah. You get a tariff. You cry and take that tariff, right? And now this part, I hope, is not true. I'm repeating it because I've read it like in 5 different places. It's been told to me 3 different times, but apparently he sort of sent away the plan that the actual economist wrote up, and then he asked someone else to draw up a plan that would do the tariffs truly bigly, right? Like we really making a statement. And in doing that, they did, apparently, I don't want this to be true because it means we're all doomed, but apparently they did ask ChatGPT what to do with which I don't know. I feel like even when they typed that in to ChatGPT, Chat was like, you sure, dog? Like, which is a fitting bit of irony, though. It is kind of funny to me that like ChatGPT wrote up a formula that was then applied that then tanked the stock of the company that owns ChatGPT. Like it's a beautiful little closed loop. But ChatGPT went ahead and did its thing. They asked him, hey, how can we tariff the whole world and not have everybody die? And ChatGPT was like, I don't know about the die part, but I will get you a little formula real quick. And it went and then it dropped this formula, and that's the same formula that they've been showing. Now this formula, it does have all the components of like a math equation. It's got the parentheses in there, it's got some X and some Y, has a little cursive, it has that little squiggly thing for when you divide it. I think it has everything that you've ever like looked at a meme about confusion that was coming at you. It's in there. It's all that stuff. All that beautiful mind drawing stuff is what's in the thing. It's got some tops, it's got some bottoms. It's got some other like little symbols rubbing together and everything. But apparently when plugging in any type of numbers into this equation, they still got the math wrong. So no matter if this thing came from ChatGPT or if it came from some mathematic genius, when applied, it was still applied wrong because the tariffs more went towards the tariff amounts more went to trying to reciprocate the amount of money with countries that we had a deficit with than the actual like reciprocal tariff, if that makes sense. Like we applied that thing as if, oh, they're just tariffing us this much, so we're going to tariff them the same amount. But rather than actually doing that, we were like, here is some math just to make everybody confused real quick, and then we'll actually go ahead and slap a tariff on them for their deficit or for their surplus, which also does not make any sense because then we're both punishing people who buy a lot from us and punishing the people we sell to off the things that we sold them to make things for us, right? So it's basically like being in a bad marriage where like it's like being in a bad marriage where it's like, well, I don't know why you hate me. You married me. Like, I'm just over here being your husband. I don't really get why you so mad at me right now. Ooh, you hate me, but you married me. Anyway. And so that is partially where we landed, which is distressing. That first day, these tariffs get applied, the markets react and everything, and $3 trillion of value is just gone, sort of wiped out in the moment. And then the next day it was worse, because the next day they were like, oh, we still doing it because we can get redder. We can get, oh, we haven't even broke out all the red in the crayon box yet. We can keep getting red. And then there was like another $6 trillion loss, like overtime. But like we were at $6 trillion, I think by like that Friday at 4 p.m. or something. And then we lost money over the weekend, which I didn't even think was possible. I thought the whole point of the market closing was to close. Don't keep counting. That doesn't feel fair to me, to keep counting even though we closed and now I owe more than I owed before. That's not fair at all. But then when Japan opened up and Japan was plunging about 8% on their market, and then our futures were also our futures, you know the future, you know the thing you're supposed to look forward to, that was also looking bleak for us. And then our market opened and the market was like, no, we still dying, dog. I'm not pretending. I'm not going to pretend to know math. You know what I mean? I've met math. I've been affected by math, for sure. Math rules everything around me, yes. But when I tell you that the reason I don't want to hold like public office, I don't want to do any of that stuff, is because I don't want my math to affect anybody else, because I'm bad at it. I'm bad at math. The only time that my math affects other people's lives is when it's my turn to pay at dinner. And that is a bummer for everyone. That is, you can feel it. Okay. When it's my turn to pay for the check and I'm trying to, in my head, out loud, figure out the tip to then add I gotta divide to do the tip, and then I gotta add the number I just divided and then put that together and put that on the total on the merchant copy, all right? We're all up to speed. We've all been to a restaurant. But watching me do that it instantly feels like when the teacher would make you read in class, but you knew a big word was coming up. You had been trying to sound out this word while the teacher was talking about some other stuff because you had already counted the paragraphs. The teacher making everybody go one paragraph for paragraph for paragraph, and you like, okay, I'm sitting here, which means I'm 8 paragraphs away. That's my word. Oh, no. And so then you trying to sound out the word in your head, but you can't sound out in your head. So you're like, maybe I'm not even sounding out right now because my head is quiet. And then they get to you and it's your turn to read, and you're like reading all good, killing it. You even sounding out the commas. You know what I mean? You see that comma and you go, pause. And then you finally hit that big word and you like, all right. Are you old enough now you don't want to sound like you sounded out because everybody will think you can't read even though you read half the paragraph with no problem? You did mic drops on those periods. Anytime there was a period in a sentence, you were like, this good textbook right here. What do y'all know about this English lesson, this Chaucer, okay? And then you finally get to the word and you're like, that's a cough. That was a cough. That wasn't even me reading just now. That's and the teacher goes, scrumptious. I was getting to it. Oh. I was getting to it. I was just trying to enjoy the word. I was trying to chew on the word. You the one getting all impatient and stuff. You trying to teach us patience. You're not even patient. That's me. Like, at least the closest I come to ruining everybody's life with math is when it's my turn to pay at dinner and I'm trying to factor out loud the tip and I'm hearing me try to do math in my head, hearing a grown man say carry the is not gonna inspire confidence in my abilities, right? If I'm sitting there with the, okay, and then you got the two right there, all right? Anytime I gotta do math without a calculator or a pencil, it's a whole conversation. I'm literally sitting there like, all right, so, I'm gonna do 25% because she was killing it, all right? So 25%, that's even better because it's also a quarter. Now I just gotta break this down into 4 parts and then put that line there, right? So now all I gotta do is get you to be still, be still, be still, be still. Stop it. I'm telling a 6 to stop it out loud at the table. Stop moving, all right? So now we gonna carry the 3, and if that 6 will be still, I think we at 9. No, that's up. That's not even division. That's more. Okay, all right. So I'm gonna put a 4 here, and that 4 gonna slide up and trip that 5. Gonna kick the legs up under that 5. And then that's a 1. Why couldn't this be an even number? Why couldn't somebody just order the guacamole like I said? That would have got us closer. Okay, so 7 and 3, that's 10 anyway. So that's 10. So now we know we're going to have a 2 in there. I know y'all want to go. All right? Get in the car then. Get in the car. I'll follow. Yeah. And then I get embarrassed. And so I just write the total twice. And then I'm like, at least if I tip 100%, nobody could be mad at me. But then I'm sitting there like, can I really afford this? Because then I got to get in the car and do the math in my head of my account. I'm like, all right, so we eating on Sunday, all right? Tomorrow is a business day. It's not going to go through till tomorrow. So if I add a 20 to the account, ooh, I'm overdrafting hard. Oh, I don't know what the number is, but I know that fee gonna hit. We're in a bad way. One of the biggest problems that I think is facing Americans and the country is that we don't have a sort of cohesive identity of care for each other. So, for instance, something could happen to a large swath of Americans, and there'd be other Americans that are like, all right, good, I don't care, whatever. And I'm not saying any country is perfect. And I know that some of the countries I'm mentioning have at least a little bit of a homogeny to them and everything. But whether you're Portuguese, you're Spanish, you're Italian, you're Brazilian, you're Mexican, when something happens and it happens to your countrymen, you see it as happening to your countrymen because they're all in a country together. They're all like in this thing together. I'm not saying there's not poor and rich and they don't have some of the same problems that we have. I'm not saying that factions haven't split people more than ever before, especially with the internet. I'm just saying that like they can look at a person they don't know and be like, that is my countryman, right? And we haven't had something like that for a long time. There are whole parts of the country that if you put them in a room together, we assume they would fight. We assume that it would come to blows almost immediately, just off of like, hey, do you want to pass the salt? Like, just like not even a political thing, just, it would just happen eventually, you know? And I thought that the connective tissue that we had as a country would put us together cohesively was at least like capital. I thought it was at least money. I thought that money would be at least the one thing that made us go, all right, we should all stop and figure this thing out right now. If it's not money, I don't know what it is. Like visiting another country and seeing it doesn't have to be this way is crazy. I'm surprised that's what we're not allowed to do. I'm surprised we're allowed to still travel. Because if you go anywhere else on like planet Earth, and I'm not talking about every place, I'm just saying, there are places that you look around and you'll be like, y'all don't just punch people in the face for being broke? Y'all don't just... Wow, all right, crazy. Going to another country that's like functioning and seeing how they operate is like going to a functional family's house for dinner. Like, it's just... You're just sitting there astonished. You're like, all right. Everybody here? Everybody sitting at the table together? All right. All right. Got mom, got dad, got kids, and invited me over as a guest, and y'all just all smiling. As the dad, you're just sitting there. You're sitting there asking your kids about their day. Their day at school. What are you doing, dude? What are you doing? You should be abandoning all of them right now. You should be abandoning all of them. You should be going to Vegas and putting it all on black, and then you win. You actually win. You doubled your net worth in a day, and then you put it all on red because you had a feeling, and then you lost it all, and then you're sitting in this casino's cafeteria where there's very nice food, but somehow it's still like a disgusting cafeteria, and you've got these crab legs and these lobster tails in front of you, but you're wondering what you're going to do after tonight because there's nowhere to go because you left home. That's what you should be doing. Not asking your kids, how was school? Like, and then the mom sitting here. Mom sitting here, help dad cook the meal. They cooked it together as a family unit. You know, they didn't just fall into general norms. You know, they figured out that he bakes good and she makes great chicken. So she made the chicken, he baked some bread and everything. And it's all on the table together. They're watching their children eat it for the nourishment of their bodies. Food that they bought through the work that they do. They both work jobs. You have to be a 2-income household now. It can't just be one person working. And so they worked really hard and they bought that food and they cooked that food to the best of their ability. And now it's going to feed their children and give them good nourishment for their bodies. And they don't resent those kids at all. And that's crazy. Like, why aren't you looking at these kids like they ruined everything? Why aren't you telling them what you did before they were born? Like as a dad, you should be telling them, I used to dunk. All right? I used to have a sick vertical. And then, you know, you came along and I was trying to put your car seat in the car and close the door too fast and slam my knee. I'll never jump again, but enjoy your baked goods. Like, that's the type of dad that you should be. You're just over here smiling at them, watching them enjoy your bread. Oh, Dad, it's so good. And as the mom, you're over here working a job, cooking as well, and not resenting anyone here. You did a great job cooking rosemary chicken. It's delicious, succulent, not dry at all. How'd you manage that? How'd you manage not to dry it out? The rosemary's perfectly on there, and you shouldn't be here. You should be cheating. You should be cheating to give your kids something to fight against, okay? You want to make your kid a star athlete, you go out there right now and you cheat. You break up this family so that the only solace they can find is baseball, and then they just hit dinger after dinger every game because they're hitting their trauma. And then one day a scout from a good college, a college they couldn't possibly afford because it's not a 2-income household anymore. One of those colleges comes to scout this kid, and they're like, man, that kid's got talent. And we have to get him on this school's team, full ride. ride. He goes from that full ride to AAA minor into the majors. And then one day they're interviewing him at the end of a game where he's hit the dinger that won them the World Series. And he's like, hey, I don't know where, I'm sorry, I'm getting so emotional. I don't know where, like my mom and dad are, but just know that I love you and I hope you're watching. And I did this for you, okay? I did this for you. I love you so much. You should be doing that instead of just helping them with their homework. And the kids are like sitting there well behaved, which is crazy. It's crazy. They're not hitting each other at all. They're not trying to put a fork in the other's temple at all. They're just sitting there enjoying like mom and dad's cooking and everything, laughing at each other's jokes. Hey, I have a joke. Everyone cares. Like it's insane. You're sitting at a table as a family in America. This should not be happening, all right? You know, as the son, you should be sitting there yelling at your dad, give me back my skateboard or I'll kill you. Like that's more our speed, you know? And that's what it feels like to just go to another country and watch them go to the hospital when they need to go to the hospital. Like that's, just watch social safety nets happen and have just like a general care for citizens and stuff. That's what that feels like when it happens. One of the things that makes it so bad is that we have this attitude because of the strength of the dollar and because it is the base of like the world's currency. Everyone compares their currency to the dollar, the strength of their currency, the strength of the dollar, and people would like to be paid in dollars, at least for now. And there's an attitude that we have as Americans that it has to be that way. We don't know any other way, so it must stay that way. So it really doesn't matter what we do, but it does. It does. All of that belief, all of that standard with us as a standard is confidence. And if your partners lose confidence in you, it's not going to be good for you. If your confidence is waning because of moves that have been made and unpredictability, then people will try to figure something else out. That's a little terrifying. I'm not an economist. I don't know how all of it works. I just know that you can only really bully the whole world for so long. Do you know what I mean? There was a flight a couple years ago where on this flight, this dude on the flight stands up mid-flight and is talking wild and reckless. This dude stands up and he's like, I'm gonna kill everybody in here, okay? All right, you're all gonna die. Do you understand me? Every single one of you is gonna bleed and die. And he's making all these weird movements and he is freaking people out and people are stuck in their seats. They're like paused in their seats. There's only one person who's like taking a little bit of cell phone footage of this dude because nobody knows what this dude is going to do, and he's getting up so confident and he's so scared because I guess he's like a bigger dude as well, and he's like, no, y'all are all gonna die. He's clearly having like some sort of mental episode, but at the same time nobody can know how serious he is or like what his problem is or anything, and people are frozen in their seats, right? And he's like, I'm gonna kill every single one of you. You're all gonna die. I'm gonna crash this plane. And then he tries to get into the cockpit as well. He can't get into the cockpit because that's locked. And finally, this dude goes into, I think it's his back pocket, right? And everybody's expecting a knife, a gun, and this dude has a spoon. And when everyone realized that all he had was a spoon, talking this reckless, they whooped his ass. There was plenty of cell phone footage of that. They were whooping this dude. I know they don't do it on flights anymore because people have allergies, but back in the day, they used to have peanuts on flights. And every once in a while, somebody would open the peanut packet too hard, and the peanuts would go everywhere. They go over the tray table, but then they go in the aisle, and they bounce all down the aisle because the plane was still getting some altitude and everything. And he kind of looked like that peanut. They were passing him around, beating his ass. They were really tossing him back and forth. And then he still had the spoon. Was like, wait. Man, that cracked me up. Wait. They made that man sound like tennis in there. That man, he was using the spoon a little bit. He was like, man. And people were like, all right, fingers and eyes. There were other people who never got the chance to beat his ass that just watched it with their phones, and you could see them just with the eyes going, ooh, 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 ooh. And then they restrained him, and then they landed. Cops got on the plane like, damn. I thought we were whooping ass. Man, this man tied down to the seat with seatbelts and duct tape and still got the spoon. And then in the midst of all this turmoil, all this red, Trump tweeted, or, great time to buy. That's the most unserious thing I've ever heard in my life. Honestly, look. Admit it for a second to yourself. You don't have to say it out loud, but just know in your heart, if this was any other country, you would be laughing your ass off at that. That is very, very, very funny. That is so inappropriate and so funny at the same time. It's basically like somebody driving the car towards your car accident going, wee! And then, because we don't have a serious system, because we're not doing things the way that maybe anybody should do them. Somebody from Trump's administration, I'm pretty sure his cabinet, and I don't want to say the wrong name, but just know that they're in his circle. They went on, maybe it was CNBC, it was one of the major news networks, and they were asked by the anchor, do you think there's any possibility that all these tariffs, all this stuff going out is really just to raise the alarm bells, and that there's a possibility of a sort of 90-day situation, just like with Canada and Mexico? And then that guy said, yeah, the president's going to decide what he wants to decide. He's going to do what he wants to do. But then, off of that, you heard me when I said, yeah, the president's going to decide what he's going to do. Yeah, just off that noise, that noise right there. Yeah. Someone clipped that and tweeted the yeah. And then they said that there was about to be a 90-day pause. And then the market went up $3 trillion because we are not really here, I guess. Like, that's one of the craziest things I've ever heard. I knew money wasn't real before, but I didn't know. That's a noise. He didn't even give it a full yeah. Yeah. 3 trillion dollars from right? And then it went back down again because the White House came out and was like, we never said that. And so it dropped all the way back. And then like 2 days later, Trump reversed the 2 days later, he was like, yeah. No, they reversed the tariffs. And then the market shot up like $3 trillion again. I'm starting to think the market only understands $3 trillion. And I'm not saying I knew it would happen. If I did, I would have made a lot of money, like some of those people that are potentially going to be investigated because they had calls on the market for 2,000%, and then they very rich. Trump even pointed one out. He was like, "That guy made $9 billion today." Whatever he said. And yeah, I'm just saying, I didn't expect it. I did not expect there to be a ton of follow through in that. I'm just saying that when he said, I'm not saying I believe everything he says. I'm saying I thought he believed what he said when he said it. I thought, look, I'm not saying I believe when he says the thing. I don't know if I believe it. But when anyone says what they say, you would think that they would know if they believe it or don't believe it because they said it, because they're alone in there with their head to say it or not say it, and then to know if they're lying or not lying. But then I was not in his head, so I'm like, I don't know, right? But I thought he would know whether or not he meant what he said. Anytime he speaks, just for himself, not for us. I understand the man can lie, but this in your head just for you is where I don't think you should be able to fool yourself. I don't think you should be able to trick yourself that way. If you said it, you alone in your head in your room of one should know what you mean when you say it. And I know that doesn't make sense, but it makes as much sense as the tariffs, because it is in his head by himself. So, all right. Yeah. That was the thing. That was the thing. And then he, reversed the tariffs on a bunch of countries, except he increased the tariffs on China because they had increased the tariffs on us in the wake of that thing happening. So then it was really just, my dad can beat up your dad. I didn't forget you from before, so just know that my dad can beat up your dad. And then China was like, you don't, look. China made a statement early into the little tariff trade war where they were like, if the U.S. wants a trade war or any other type of war, we're ready and we'll fight to the end. And that's a lot. That's a lot. I thought we were talking about numbers, and that's another place to take it. And then Trump raised it to like almost 150% on, and this is my thing. I'm not an economist. I don't even know math. But can we at least keep the percents in the 100, please? You know what I mean? Because we're getting into some dangerous territory. The only other place that percents have gone over 100 and has been bad for people in this way is Maury. Maury had people on that were 1,000% sure, and they couldn't have been more wrong. They could not have been more fundamentally incorrect. One of my favorite, in case you're not familiar with Maury, in case you have not been blessed with the afternoon programming, the after school watching that was Maury, there were episodes of Maury. Maybe my favorite episode of all time was white woman, white man, black baby, fraternity episode. That was art. So white woman over here, and she's like, that's his baby, Maury. That's his baby. Why won't he take care of his responsibilities more? Okay, so we dated for a while. We would hook up from time to time, and then we broke up. So I was out. You know what I mean? I saw some people, but that's his baby. Look at it. The baby got a head. He got a head. That's his baby. All right. And then I never thought that I would have to say it this way, but then this poor white man had to, in real time, navigate, making sure everyone understood he was not the father while not saying anything horrifically offensive. And to his credit, he really kept a cool head and did his best. He was like, okay, look. We all God's children, all right? Okay, and I mean this with no disrespect to the African American gentleman baby or the community at large, but he and I are not kin. And then Maury, who is normally the voice of reason, who you think would have his back, says out loud, you don't think this could be your child? And this man is sitting here like, Maury, don't make me say it. Are you serious? Look at the screen. And then he read it out. He was like, the DNA results are in. He pulls it out of the envelope and he goes, when it comes to the case of 2-year-old Dalmon Travius, Mike, you are not the father. And of course she was like, and she did 6 backflips and ran outside. And then he went, yeah, I know. Y'all be blessed. And that's my thing. It's like if you're gonna be more than 100% sure, you have to be so sure. You have to be right. You have to be correct. And China came out with a statement. I think it was today. It might have been yesterday. I don't know. I just saw it where they were like, due to the U.S. Tariff raise, we will be raising tariffs 125%, and any other raises the U.S. will do in retaliation will be inconsequential and will be seen as a joke in the history of economies. And I'm just saying, maybe you don't want to get into a math contest with China. Y'all been fantastic. Thank y'all so much. I've had doctors that really just felt like they were piecing it together as we went. You know what I mean? Like truly. Like one time, I don't even know what it was. I had something on my leg that was like concerning me. Right? And so I went to the doctor and I'm telling him about it. I'm sitting in his office going over it, going like when it happened, everything, how worried I am because I've never seen anything like this before, and how I've just been like feeling like tired all the time. So I'm wondering if it has something to do with this. And he's like, yeah. And I was like, do you want to take a look at it? He's like, yeah, we'll get to it. And then he stands up, grabs like all the stuff, stethoscope, stuff that he, I guess he gonna listen to it. I don't know what the plan is. But then he's like, go ahead and stand up and you can drop your you can drop your pants. And I'm like, why are you seem nervous? Like it was just do you know what I mean? Like it's not like we're buds. Like I have to do this now. And we've talked about it thoroughly. Like, you know where the thing is, like upper thigh, right? And so then I like open my belt buckle, I unzip, I start dropping my pants, and maybe I did too fast for him because he was like, oh, pause. I was like, pause? not a doctor, say, pause. Oh, because it's tough and it's scary because we only know a medieval amount about how to keep ourselves alive. We think we're smarter because we have more access to information, but even with that access, some people don't want the information. There are people that are straight up, like I used to think from the bottom of my heart, oh, if people just knew, if you knew better, you'd do better. I used to like live by that mantra. And now I'm realizing, no, some people don't want to know. Some people would like to do exactly what they do now. Because to me, I go to a doctor because I'm like, you're a professional. The hope is that you know what's going to be going on. So I don't need to learn about what's going on while it's happening to me, because that's how you die slowly. You know what I mean? I don't want to be sitting on my deathbed like, I figured it out. And so you go to a doctor because doctor's supposed to know. But now there are people who will admit that they don't know, but they'll also be like, nah, he doesn't know either. And it's like, look, I'm not saying doctors know everything, but we as the general public, we have like a certain amount of knowledge that helps keep us alive. And the rest is other people that we've never met being like, don't eat the lettuce this week. There's E. coli everywhere. And without them, I wouldn't know that. I'd be hitting the lettuce hard. I'd be like, look at how healthy I am. I'm mid-salad right now. Oh, you do your best. Everyone is doing their best. Don't think that I think people aren't doing their absolute best. Even when they don't do what I agree with, even when they don't do things that I think are like common sense. People are doing their best, you know? It's just sometimes someone's best shouldn't be here. Do you know what I mean? You could have all the good intentions in the world, but if your best is like subpar, it should probably get you out of there. Let you be a cheerleader. Because I've been through all manner of like medical things. Luckily, nothing so serious that it was like fundamentally life-threatening for long. I'm very thankful that I don't deal with like chronic pain or conditions that I know people in my life do that make them have to adjust plans, cancel plans, make them have to adjust their life, make them have to be thinking about this thing all the time. I luckily don't have to think about my body all the time. You know? But I know a lot of people that do. I know a lot of people that depend on those experts for things that if we were going off of my knowledge, most of this room would be dead. Oh, I don't claim to be an expert, but I feel like there's this weird place we've gotten to where it used to be knowing something was like a big deal. Oh, ask them, they know, right? And now questioning something is as big of a deal as knowing something. And I'm not saying questions are bad. I just think that at a certain point, we need to distinguish the people who only ever ask questions from the people who actually know things. Do you know what I mean? You should ask questions. I don't want anyone to blindly follow anyone. I'm just saying that when people say do your own research, some of them haven't researched. Research is boring. If you weren't bored during your research, if you just strung a marathon of documentaries on YouTube together, I bet you that wasn't research though. I'm not even saying everything you learned was wrong. I'm just saying like research usually takes time, takes years of your life, takes dedicated study and attention. Real research, knowing something, you have to give something to know something. It takes nothing to just pick things apart until you confuse everyone. Do you know what I mean? And so I said all that because I've made mistakes in my life. I didn't know the difference between the emergency room and urgent care. I wish that they give one of them a less immediate name. I didn't know they weren't interchangeable, all right? It's the emergency room and then it's urgent care. Well, I urgently need help for my emergency, so what should I do? Where does that leave us now? I'm at a fork in the road and whichever I pick sounds like they'll help me quickly. Turns out emergency rooms are for like life-threatening, immediate care. Urgent care is for when you got like a headache. Urgent care, look, and this is not to disparage anyone that works in any place. It's just that urgent care stories, I know people who work in urgent care, and I know people who work in emergency rooms, and the emergency room stories, I should have known to go to the emergency room if it was more serious, because the emergency stories are so much more horrific in nature than the urgent care stories. Like, the urgent care stories are like, yeah, this dude came in and he was filling out his paperwork, but his nose is bleeding the whole time. Kind of got all over the paper. And then he handed it back to me and I was like, ugh. Emergency room stories are like, there was a dude today that, and also anyone who's ever worked in an emergency room and then told me an emergency room story has a 1,000-yard stare. They're not talking to me. They might be talking to God. They might be asking God, why would you let me see something like that? I got into this business to help people. I really want to help and heal, and you show me the devil. I don't want to see that ever again. Because what they will tell me with that wide stare is like, yeah, this guy came in today and his leg was... And it's like, I don't know what that is. That blinking? Sometimes they will just blink in silence. I'm like, is it in the room right now? This guy came in today and his leg was in his chest. You sure this wasn't a dream? No. Like, I went to urgent care one time and genuinely was sicker than when I walked in. When I left, I walked to the urgent care and I had an appointment, and which is odd because I thought you were supposed to be able to just run up in there, but get to urgent care. I had my appointment, and the person at the front, look, God bless them, truly. I know they were just doing their best, but they could not stop sneezing and coughing openly. And so I was like, oh, like I'm backing away from this. I'm like, yeah, so do you want me to just go right over there? Do you want me to just walk around you and go back there? He's like, oh, the doctor's not ready yet. I was like, you can go first, dog. Like, if you, I mean, you already here and you here all day and like, I don't know, you're probably killing everybody. So if you want to go, that's supposed to be the benefit of working here, right? That you are already here in case you need to be here. And he was like, oh, don't worry. Don't worry, it's not COVID. And I was like, that wasn't my concern at all. I wasn't wondering if it was COVID. I was wondering why it was happening right now to you. Like, I want you to be well. That would be better for everybody in here because we all came sick. And if we all mix our sick together right now, I'm pretty sure we'll get a new thing. And I want that to happen. And then my man sent me back so the doctor could cough in my mouth. Everybody had it, whatever it was, everybody had it. But now, when you go to the emergency room, let's say that's closer than urgent care, and you're like, you know what, I'll just go right now. And then you get in there, and even if you have a terrible migraine, when you look around an emergency room, it does make you self-conscious about your sickness. The same way where you go to the gym for the first time in 8 years and you looking around at all the people who are already swole. When you get to an emergency room and you're not that sick and then you just see people holding bullet wounds closed, you're like, you can go before me if you want. And so it's all important stuff. It's hard for us to stay healthy because it's already hard for us to live. You have to do everything that it takes to have a life, keep people alive if you've made people, and be healthy. And I don't know, maybe it's just the way that we work as a country, but we're so back and forth and 100% all the time. All gas, no brakes, all the time, always behind, fighting, trying to get back in black, fighting that red line, fighting that poverty line to the point where there are people who genuinely believe they don't have time. Oh, you could do this. This is the healthier thing to do. Oh, make some time for this. I don't have time, right? By the time I get home, I'm exhausted. I just want to sleep. Can I at least have sleep? And so it's tough, even when it comes to eating, even when it comes to what we know to eat to be healthy. It changes. And sometimes it changes because we find out something. And then sometimes it changes because a company is actually, there's a lot of money in kale. You remember kale? You remember that thing that we used to put at the bottom of every salad bar? It used to be the floor of the salad bar. You would go to a Pizza Hut and there would be kale wrapped around the pizza. Not on the pizza, under the pizza. Just to use kale as foliage. And then one day somebody was like, hey, we growing all this kale. You ever taste some? You ever bite down to that kale? It's probably good for you. And then takes off, becomes a whole craze. I'm always blown away with food crazes of food that we've been eating. We've all been alive for a while now, but every year there will be some superfood that's a food we were already aware of. Remember when avocados had their day? Remember when avocado was no, your skin. And there's vitamins it's so good for you. Your skin. Do you want more skin? Your skin. It's so good for you. See, you have extra skin under your skin. You'll be so healthy. You remember coconut oil. There was a year where coconut oil could do no wrong. They were like, no, put it on your skin. Lather yourself up at night. You'll just be so moisturized. Put it in your hair. It'll get all the dirty stuff out of your hair. It'll clear out your pores in the hair and everything. Get the hair follicle all nice and juicy and stuff. Eat it. Cook with it. It's so good. It'll fix your skin from the inside. It'll be delicious and it'll be like all of your organs have new skin. And then somebody else came out with a study that was like, oh, actually don't do any of that. It's actually going to fully clog your pores. It's going to clog the pores of your hair. And if you eat it, it's going to be a little too loose in your heart while your heart's trying to pump blood. I don't know what they said, but they turned on it in a day. And you would think that all this stuff is happening because we're finding out all these things. But what's really happening is all of these narratives are competing at the same time. There are people who have a vested interest in you eating as much meat as possible, and then there are people who have a vested interest in you eating no meat at all. And I don't even mean on a political front. I'm not even talking about environmentalists versus like vegans versus people who have money in Big Cow. I'm talking about genuinely there are people who believe, for whatever reasons they've come to, that they've concluded that they believe this thing is good for you, this thing is bad for you, and then they put it out into the world. And because we have the internet, you could look up anything, and anything is as good for you as it is bad for you. And that is scary when you know a medieval amount to keep yourself alive. I'm not claiming to be smarter than anybody, and I try to listen to experts, and I try to do my quote-unquote own research. It's a lot of reading. It's pretty boring. That's why I feel like I'm doing the right thing. You know, but it's still tough to know. I'm not coming down on people for not knowing. I think it's mostly that if someone went to all the trouble to know, maybe that should mean something. You know, I say this because RFK Jr. is the head of Health and Human Services. And if you're not familiar with RFK Jr., he has a very specific sound, very specific way of speaking and thinking, and he's on a real like health kick as a whole personality, all right? And it's unfortunate that so much of that is what feels like riddled with internet. I've never seen someone so interested in health and the science of health without just getting into the science of health. Do you know what I mean? It would be like me knowing every stat that there is to know about basketball. But then when someone rolled me a ball or even tossed me a ball, maybe I'm playing my first pickup game of basketball with all of this knowledge I supposedly have of the game. I know plays, I know players, I know stats, I know strategies. And then someone actually passes me the ball and I go, there are things that RFK Jr. has said and done they don't just worry me. You know what I mean? They don't just like worry me. They actively go against, like, it's one thing if you have one theory. I let everybody be subversive about like one thing to me, because I'm like, all right, you might be right about this thing, who knows, let's investigate, right? When you have 90, nah, dog, this is bad. I don't even like repeating some of the things that he said, because it makes it, if I repeat it, I sound like I think it, because it takes me so long to explain what he thought that I sound like I think it too, and I would rather not. You know, during his confirmation hearing, he said a lot of things that didn't quite fall in line with what he had been saying before he was trying to get confirmed, you know. So he said a lot of the right things to go ahead and get confirmed. And look, he was probably going to get confirmed no matter what. You know, there was a majority that was going to push him through, most likely, no matter what he said. And then he gets in, and this is the most troubling thing to me about like RFK Jr. is that there are moments where he'll say something that is like not only like not crazy, it's like the thing that everyone was hoping somebody would say. And then he'll quickly follow it up with a thing that no one has ever said. And you're like, oh, you had us for like a half second. You know, like, because RFK Jr. has talked about like trying to remove all the dyes out of the foods, like out of the candies and out of the like crackers, all this stuff like that, out of the chips. It's like, that's actually a good thing. That would be good. Everyone else already removed it. Like, these companies may be international, but when you go to Europe, it's a different chip. They don't, and that's specifically because Europe was like, we don't do that to our people. So you should, if you want to be here, you can change it, but you have to change it. You can't just be whatever you want to be, right? And so when RFK Jr. says, like, I'm trying to get all these additives out of the food, all these dyes, all these things, it's like, oh, wow, that's great. I like that. And then he's like, and we need a registry for autism. And you're like, oh! In what world? What are you doing? It's so deeply frustrating. You know? Because it's like, that the whole thing... The whole thing that is that is frustrating about it is that it is someone who, even in the face of experts, would rather not challenge those experts and prove them wrong to their face, just more talk to people who honestly and earnestly are trying to find out and don't know and lead them. You don't see him engaging in like real debate with a doctor who's made the thing their life, who's done the true research, and who's done it over time. I'm not saying science and doctors can never be wrong. I'm saying those are the people you should be having these spats with, instead of going on podcasts and convincing people who also didn't do the thing. They didn't make that their life's work, and then leading them down a path where we're not really sure how bad it could get. And this is in the midst of Doge and other things cutting jobs for like the National Health Institutes, you know, cutting jobs at the FDA, cutting jobs in all these places where we need these things. In fact, there have been rollbacks on things that help us prevent things in the future, on research for the future of what might be going on somewhere else, is what scientists are thinking about all the time, when this thing might happen. Right? And if you roll back on that, you won't see the effect right away. You may not even see it for a long time. But then when we are behind, because we used to be the leader, and we're quickly losing our first place position in being who the world looks to figure out new illnesses, to figure out, even with old ones, we can still figure out vaccines. We can still figure out all of these different aspects of how to keep people healthy and alive. And when you roll them back in ways that seem like they don't matter, or at least you don't want to give attention to, the effects we won't know the widespread effect of it. You know, and I'm worried because RFK Jr. got in under this whole like make America healthy again attitude. Is sort of a mantra, right? And I understand that he's like a 70-year-old guy that bench presses. But I would like to, if I can, be healthier than RFK Jr. because he doesn't seem healthy. I haven't seen his blood work. I'm not saying I don't know, but he doesn't seem healthy because he does a lot of stuff that doesn't seem to lead to health. Long before he was ever confirmed for the head of Health and Human Services, there was a picture of RFK Jr., one of many, but there was a particular picture of RFK Jr. walking out of an airplane bathroom, barefoot. And when I saw it, I rebuked the picture. I was like, Will not be in my life. No, thank you. I'm not a doctor. I'm not even a scientist. But please wear some form of footwear into the airplane bathroom. You had shoes when you got on the plane. What happened? What happened between the seat and the bathroom that you were like, I gotta get these off? Too restrained. This man went swimming in a DC creek that's been known for like, I'm pretty sure decades, that place is nasty. It's so okay. It's so nasty that the place is nasty. It's so nasty that they have a sign saying, we nasty. Don't swim here, it's nasty. And sure, it's like this flowing creek and everything, but it's been known for a long time that sewage leaks into that creek. And he hopped in with the same feet that he walked out of that airplane bathroom with. Hopped in feet first, probably didn't even dip his toe in, was like, yeah. Swimming in the creek with his grandchildren, I'm pretty sure. And his dog. You're the head of health and human services. Do us the service of being a healthy human. Like this is so crazy that we're watching you. It would be like watching the Secretary of Defense play Russian roulette. It's like, so you're not gonna be here long then. Why would you do that? Don't do that. We want you to be alive. It's so frustrating. Man has a congressional hearing where they're asking him about his belief. They're asking him about things that he said since he's been confirmed and stuff. And this man basically says, don't take medical advice from me. There's a part of me that almost respects that. There's a part of me that almost respects that. Let me tell you why. Because I have been, an hourly worker several times in my life. I've had lots of odd jobs that pay by the hour. I've had lots of I won't call them corporate, but just established corporation jobs that pay, by the hour. And the problem with hourly work, whether you're talking about me or anyone I've ever interacted with, especially from a customer service perspective, the problem with hourly work is I'm not sure if we're meeting at the hour you care about this job. I may have caught you at a bad time at work. There's 4 types of hourly workers. There are the hourly workers who are they start off great, especially when we're talking customer service. You start off great. I was here. You start off great. You clock in, you got a good attitude, you're ready to go. Nothing's happened yet. And then a few hours into dealing with the public, you have been beat down to a place of which you're not sure you can recover. And you're thinking about how this is Monday. So, my life, Then there's an hourly worker that really starts to perk up the last 2 hours of shift. They're almost home. They're almost out of here. They're smiling at you because they almost don't have to see you. We're almost through with each other. I'm so close. Let's bring it home strong. Then there's the hourly worker that genuinely loves their job. Then there's the hourly worker who hates their job so much that from clock in to clock out, they are here to make sure that you hate their job too. Right? And at different points in my life, I've been a couple of these different workers, you know? Sometimes I had a job where I could clock in and then I was good attitude, good everything. And then people just, whether they're impatient or they're rude or they're nasty, they just beat you down and you try to not let the last interaction affect the next interaction. But after a while, you just get to the point where you just got that face, that almost like a 1,000-yard stare. And you're trying to do your job, but you just want to be like, and his leg was in his chest. Like, and I've also been that person that's had that job that I'm like, oh, I can't wait to quit this job. I can't wait to get out of here. And you know what? The closest thing to quitting this job is clocking out of this job. I love clocking out so much. Sometimes I do it twice. I love clocking out. It's my favorite thing. Sometimes I actually worked a couple different jobs where back in the day you actually had the timesheet that did the and then, shot the paper back up. And that was extra fun. I would watch it. I'd watch it in slow motion in my mind. I'd be like, yep, zip, zip, and zip, zip. And look at you marked and ready to go. I'm out of here. I'm leaving forever, just tonight, but forever. And then, admittedly, I did have jobs that I really loved. I really enjoyed clocking in and having a great time with my coworkers, and I enjoyed the job that I was doing. And even if it was like something to do with the public, you have your jerks once in a while, but for the most part, it was phenomenal. And I got great experiences out of it, and I'd clock out, I'd go home, I'd start again the next day. And then I had jobs where I was like, oh, okay. I don't want anybody to hate their life, but they're gonna know I hate mine. And there's something in the spirit of an hourly worker that's in the middle of doing their job that's like, oh, don't do what I do. That is what I heard at that hearing. Guys, don't follow my advice. I don't know. I be saying stuff. No. No, it's tough because it's hard to know that everyone has different levels of access and different levels of knowledge on how to keep ourselves healthy. And when you have things getting rolled back, like EPA regulations, FDA regulations, when you have people looking out less and less for the quality of drinking water, when you have people looking out less and less for what the next potential virus might be, you get yourself into some real trouble. And then they kick it back to us. They kick it back to us every time. They roll that thing back. They fire those people who, I'm not going to say every single person loved their job, but they roll things back to the point where now more people have more burden on them and less support to try to get us to where we need to be, at least on a basic level of health. And they're like, but it's up to you. Dr. Oz came on and he was like, the best way to be healthy is to be healthy. And I was like, oh, do you have financial advice too? Because that's incredibly solid right there. The best way to not need these services is to not need these services. And it's like, okay, but you gotta remember, you're dealing with people who have varying levels of knowledge around what is and isn't healthy. My hometown has a bit of a meth problem. And a real conversation that I overheard at a bus stop was, no, they getting on to me because I'm smoking meth. But it's not like it's crystal meth. And not only me as a bystander, but the person they were talking to seemed to also be on meth. Said, what do you mean it's not crystal meth? And he goes, it's regular meth. And so then the other person on meth was like, no, it's all meth. Crystal's not the deluxe. It's not like Crystal Pepsi, you know what I mean? It's all generally meth. There's not a diet meth. Meth is the diet meth. I haven't eaten in some time. Because we are a huge country. And it's when you travel, you realize how big this country really is. And it's a lot of people to try to keep healthy, try to make healthy, you know? And so you want people of the absolute highest caliber, knowledge and character to be in positions that affect your health. And I just don't think RFK Jr. is that, you know? And there's all these things. There's plenty of things that you can watch and plenty of breakdowns people have done on his ideas and his theories about health and everything, and the things that he says that fall into the lane of conspiracy and the things that he says that fall into the lane of like homeopathic cures and stuff. And I'm just saying there's a certain way that you talk about people that lets me know what you think about people, how you feel about people, right? And while maybe from his perspective seeming compassionate or seeming understanding, the way I've heard him talk about people, especially people with autism, but people with any sort of different ability or way of life, and talk about it in terms that just seem so like stark and dismissive of the individual themselves in these broad brushstrokes, and then try to later come back and be like, oh, I was only talking about a quarter of, you know, as if that's better. You know, it makes me feel like this is not the individual that should be in that position. And that's not just because he swims in sewage. It's because like actual sewage is spilling out of his mouth every time he talks. You know? But yeah, maybe he can get the food additives out. I don't know. Like this. No. That's just, I don't know. That's what's so frustrating to me about RFK Jr. It's like half of what people applaud him for even saying we should do or that he's trying to do is just a bunch of stuff Michelle Obama was trying to do. Like, remember when Michelle Obama was like, how about a carrot? Remember that? Remember when Michelle Obama was like, just try an apple. And people were like, why do you hate America? No, it's super frustrating. You know, I get frustrated all the time. I can't imagine if you are, you know, a parent of a child with autism and you're listening to RFK Jr. talk, or if you're someone who's an actual health specialist and you're listening to RFK Jr. talk, or if you are the person who, in my opinion, deserves to be the angriest, Michelle Obama, listening to RFK Jr. talk. You know, she probably's pointing at the TV doing the DiCaprio meme. Like, that's what I just want you to try an apple. You know, that's my thing. That's really where we screwed up. You know, we do all this stuff when it comes to healthcare to make it inaccessible, right? So there's all these things that you have these premiums, you have these deductibles, you have all these different things that we understand are to keep us away from the healthcare. But then when it comes to like when it comes to the vaccines, when it comes to, the treatments, I think we're too eager to give it to people. We should actually hold it back and make it seem like, I don't know. I don't know, it's all the way over here. Do you really want to come over here and get it? I don't know. No, because I had a conversation with a friend that enlightened me a little bit in kind of that route of thinking. He was a new parent, and he was like, look, I'm not a doctor. I recognize that I don't know the science or anything, but I'm seeing all this stuff on social and on TV about giving my kids vaccines, but I'm also talking to my doctor who's telling me to give my kids vaccines, and he's like, I don't know what to do, and I'm really scared about what I should do, right? And I was like, okay, I hear what you're saying. And then he said, I just feel horrible if I gave my kids something and it made them sick or sicker. And I was like, okay, I understand what you're saying. And then I asked him, I was like, let's just go back in time for a second and just pretend that the vaccine that the doctor's trying to give you just doesn't even exist. And your kid was sick. Would you want it then? Do you know what I mean? And I'm not saying that as some sort of got you. I'm saying that when we're sick, we go to the hospital. When you're sick or someone you love is sick, you want a doctor immediately. All this just asking questions, going back and forth, trying to dunk on doctors, trying to dunk on experts. It's always done from a place of actually being okay right now. When you're actually in a hospital bed, you're like, do whatever. I'm coughing up blood. You know what I mean? And I'm not saying that to say that I don't have empathy for people who have questions or people who are unsure, people who are scared. That's where I think a lot of humanity gets lost in the conversation. When some people are just I don't know what to do. I'm genuinely afraid of what I should do next because there's all this stuff out here. Just like with the food, just like with the treatments. For everything, there's a thing for it and against it. And it depends on when it comes up in your feed. It depends on how you search. It depends on how you type it into Chat GPT. And so it's hard to really know. Right? And so I try to not just have patience, but have empathy for people who are genuinely unsure. But you saw it. You saw it in COVID. People were yelling to the rooftops, I'm not wearing a mask, I'm not doing this. Look, live your life. But then at the third cough, they did go to the people who told them to do all that stuff. And I'm just saying, I don't know, if you trust them now, if you trust them when it's bad, why not trust them a little early? You know what I mean? And I just want to make it clear, my big gripe with RFK Jr. is that he doesn't have these debates and he doesn't have these knockdown, drag out fights and arguments about the science and about where he's coming from and how he has his logic and how he came to these conclusions with experts who are well versed in the science and in the medicine. It's always done in a podcasty type of way. And now that people's real lives are at stake, I just think that's unacceptable. I don't know how we're so willing to give this much. I know we're not, but I don't know, when you look back and you compare it as a country, Michelle Obama was just eat the apple. It'll help. I don't know if y'all heard, and I am not an expert. I'm still learning facts about what happened as it's happening, okay? But This whole like Signal group chat thing is one of the... It's truly one of the more insane stories I've seen in a while. Because look, let's be clear with one another, okay? I can only pass so much judgment because I'm not good with two things: phones and secrets. Don't tell me a secret. Don't. You know, I try to be a good friend, and sometimes being a good friend comes with people trusting you with their secrets, and I wish they wouldn't. I really wish they wouldn't, because as an example, I have a friend who she went to Barbados, and I don't think she was drinking or anything, but they drive on the other side of the road and stuff, and she came back from that trip. I try to be a good friend. I asked her how her day's going. I asked her what her trip was like, just inquiring about her life, trying to make a memory together. Oh, it wasn't so funny when I told you that story about ha ha ha, right? And so sure enough, I asked her, how was the trip? And she looking shell shocked. She like, huh. I'm like, hey, you okay? What happened? And she was like, I was driving at night and I forgot which side of the road I was supposed to be on. I just felt a thump, and then I didn't know what to do, so I just kept driving. And now I just know that. Even if I wanted to turn her in, I don't know who to call or anything. I'm like, hey, anybody hit recently by a woman driving on the wrong side of the road? And not only do I not know what to do with that, because I was trying to be a good friend, I was trying to listen, right? That was a mistake. Not only do I just know that now, but I just told all of you. Like, don't trust me with a secret. I'm also not great with phones. I'm really not. It's embarrassing. I have Gen Z friends who look at me like I'm super old because I don't know what anything is. And then it doesn't help that anytime they helping me download a new app or get on a new game or something, I don't know what happens to you. I used to judge people that were older than me so hard, but I don't know what happens to you when a young person is showing you something and you just can't seem to keep your mouth closed. They're showing me how to do it, and I'm like, uh-huh. I'm not old enough for tongue yet, but that's coming, I used to show my granddad stuff. He'd be like, ah. Ain't no way. And so they're showing me how to use stuff on my own phone, and I can't keep my mouth closed, so I know I'm not good with phones. Okay? I be handling my phone. You'd be ashamed of me. You saw me on a day with my phone, flashlight on half the time. Out here struggling, wondering why the battery died. They don't make them like they used to. They don't make them at all. I also talk about how they used to make phones. That's how I know I'm also getting older. I remember other phones. They don't make them like they used. That battery used to last through the full week. Meanwhile, I'm spotlighting my feet. Look like my feet are on patrol. No, it's insane. And so they're showing me stuff with the phone. I'll be honest with you, I didn't know what Signal was. When I saw the story break and I saw that all of these higher ups, all these people who are supposed to be handling sensitive information at all times, classified information at all times, were using Signal. They were using the Signal app. In my head, this is how bad it is. In my head, I was like, well, didn't the government isn't that the government app? Like, weren't they just using the government app? And then someone explained to me that Signal is just like American WhatsApp. And I was like, oh, that is bad. That is bad. I'm all for modernization too. I'm all for keeping things as modern as possible and learning new stuff. I love when these Gen Z kids are. Yeah, that is a loud one. I was trying to. I didn't know what would be ruder. You know what I mean? Like, because I almost said bless you, but then I was like gonna call attention to it. But y'all are like too polite. That is crazy. I was gonna try to talk a little louder, gloss over it and everything, but y'all really at home together. I think that's beautiful that y'all could be like in the mezzanine. Bless you. Yeah. No, I genuinely, when they're showing me stuff, I really appreciate it. I enjoy learning new things and everything. Sometimes I'm intimidated by how much I don't know about a program, but baby steps, you learn stuff. And when I heard that they were doing all this stuff on Signal, I was like, maybe that's too modern. Whatever happened to a phone call? Jeremy, in the movies, aren't they always on the phone doing this? Where they're like, yeah, strike. Like that. You get taken less seriously as a country when you over here calling bomb strikes with emojis. Do you know what I mean? When they make the movie of America Now and you're in it, you don't want to be in it going bloop, 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 bloop. Because everybody old, so they got the phone on loud, and so it's all the... You know, because you keep it on loud when you type in when you old and everything. I do. Anyway, like... Yeah. You know what I mean? Way less badass than like, yes, okay. 1,600 hours, all right. Mission go. Like that's at least in that Top Gun Maverick world. Imagine, when I saw Top Gun Maverick, I was like, I get it now. I get it. A part of me was like, I get it. And Top Gun Maverick did a great job of like not saying which country they were killing people from or anything exactly. You know it's kind of Russian, but like, is it really? And then sure enough, John Hamm standing there. That last sequence. They about to fly off that mission. You worried about Tom Cruise and everything. It's like, hey, these kids are his responsibility, you know? You worried about Rooster. Is he gonna rise to the occasion, you know? He gonna feel his daddy's footsteps. And then John Hamm standing there, arms crossed, and he just goes, send them. That is wild. Imagine if that movie was just John Hamm being like, tick, 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 tick. Bloop. Bloop, bloop. Bloop. I'm sorry, I'm getting a call real quick. Oh, they got away. And so there's all the talk around it as well. It's so hard to understand any story that comes out now because the spin is as fast as we disseminate the information. You know? So as soon as we were even hearing about this, there were people that were like, actually, they leaked that on purpose. They added this journalist to the group chat on purpose so that they could look like such a cohesive administration. And then he would leak it. And then they'd be like, yeah, we all friends. Because if you're not familiar with what happened, there was a strike that was being planned in Yemen, right? And there's a journalist that accidentally got added to the group chat. And the people in the group chat are like J.D. Vance and some heads of like intelligence and Pete Hegseth and stuff like that. And no one at first was really owning up to who added him. We later find out that I'm pretty sure Walls added him. And it this journalist didn't even think that it was real. It was so dumb. When it happened, this dude, I'm assuming, because he's also a bit older. No. And he said he didn't know it was real until they actually bombed Yemen. And then he, comes forward with, hey, they sent me these plans. He had already left the group as well. When he realized, you're not supposed to be in the room. In the room like, uh-oh. Let me go ahead and notify the right people. Because I've been added to a group chat before that I wasn't supposed to be in. It happens, You just type in these random numbers, add people to the chat. One time, I was chilling on Saturday. Because I'm also. Open it up, and it's just like 6 numbers and just one text. So they clearly just started it. And it says, you coming? I could have been a good person. I could have let them know, hey, everybody, wrong person in here. I don't recognize any of these numbers. I don't think y'all know me, but have a blessed day. But I didn't do that. That day, evil did win. So, you coming. We're waiting on you, right? And so I was like, trying to make up my mind. And then they text back in all caps, what? With an exclamation point and a question mark and an exclamation point. What? And I was like, yeah, I'm not sure about it. I don't know if I feel like it today. And they were like, we are all waiting on you. We're all waiting on you right now, right? And I was like, yeah, okay, let me get things together. And sure enough, I was watching TV and I forgot that I was doing this, so some time did pass. And finally I got another text. I was like, hello, all caps, question mark, question mark, question mark. So they mad. And I was like, oh, sorry, traffic. And they text back, traffic with a question mark. I'm like, yeah, it's crazy out here. And then they text back, aren't you upstairs? And admittedly, that was too big of a swing to take, So I was like, oh, yeah, I meant traffic, like, in my mind. Like, there's too much going on right now. And they were like, come down here now, right? And then I text back, what if I don't feel like it? And they text me, we've been waiting on you, only you, this entire time, and the wedding is in an hour and a half. And so I text back, I don't love him, right? And I see bubbles, right? I see the three bubbles going. That bubble is furious. It's disappearing a little bit of whoop, and then like coming right back. So in my head, they cursing me out, right? And then it finally comes through, and it's just three letters. It's who? And I was like, okay, thank goodness. That was too big of a swing to take. I'm glad that I'm not the bride. And I still don't know who I am in the group. And so now I'm like, hey, because now I'm curious. Now I'm more curious than I am worried about being caught. And genuinely, I was like, why didn't they just, like, if we in the same house, why didn't they just yell? Like, why didn't they? Like, most families would just be like, come on down. Why are you texting? So then I text, don't even respond to the who. I just text, how big is our house? Because to me, this must be the Home Alone house. If they are texting me, and I've been upstairs this entire time, and they waiting this long, it must be such a big house. No one can be bothered to walk up. And they text back, how big is our house? With a question mark. I'm like, yeah, how big is it? And then they text, are you not at your apartment? I was like, okay, downstairs does make sense now. It makes sense why they wouldn't come up. Okay, I get you. Everybody is on point except for me. I understand now. And so then I text back, look, yeah, I've thought about it. I've thought it over. And I just don't feel like coming, right? Quickly text back, it is your sister's wedding and you will support her. And I text back, nah, dog, right? And I knew I messed up because they tried to call me, right? Finally, I had to be like, okay, look, I'm not your relative with a question mark. I'm just like a random guy. I was just joking. But yeah, you should probably text whoever you think you're texting because they were very late. And I just see bubbles, gone, bubbles, gone, gone. And I know I'm getting cussed out. Like it's bubbles, gone. And then finally the message comes through and it says, I don't have time to deal with you today. But please believe when I have the time, I will be addressing you thoroughly. I've never heard a threat like that before. Thoroughly. And so I text back, you text me. So when it comes to the Signal chat, I'm just glad it didn't happen to me. Because I would have made things infinitely worse. They would have been like, we're go for strike in Yemen. I'm like, hey. Y'all ever ate there though? Like, some good spots. Why don't we just let the plane take a day off? Like, chill. They'd be like, who is this? And I'd be like, y'all text me, all right? Asking me who this is. That's like one of the top 5 Southern pet peeves is like calling the wrong number. And you called the wrong number. And then you're like, who is this? And they're like, you called me. Explain yourself. Who are you? You the one in my house right now with your voice. You're the intruder. Explain yourself. And so, you know, there's this whole thing. We still don't even know the half of it of what's been going on with Signal, because we also don't know how long they've been using Signal. We don't know why they weren't using more secure methods. And then through, I'm pretty sure, a German publication, they find that some of the top brass in the government are being so unserious with their data that they were able to deliver messages just from personal emails, old emails, and I don't know, man, this is pretty bad. You know what I mean? I didn't recognize how bad it was, and I think a lot of the general public don't really feel like it was that bad because people say it's a successful mission. That's why some people think the leak was on purpose, because it's like all they did was leak a successful mission. And it's like, morality aside of what a successful mission means for a country that, I don't know, like, has anybody checked? Are we at war with Yemen? I don't know. Mission success, like, but you bombed. Why? You didn't even explain why. I feel like no one's even asking why. They're just like, man, do you see that they text the wrong number? And so you have these people appearing before Congress getting grilled by Democrats, which just doesn't really mean much, if we're being honest. It's like, getting grilled by Democrats is like getting grilled by a step parent. It's like, you're not my real. But what are you gonna do though? What are you gonna do about it? It's like the first time you get big enough to really step to your dad, and you know you should do it, but you're like, what you gonna do though? I'll show you how to use your phone, old man. I'm training you now. We the same height. No, is truly devastating. It's bad because never mind the fact that there are so many leaks, so many breaches, so much hacking going on, but there are still, like, you know, potentially entities from other countries that have infiltrated through other hacks that we forgot about because we get hacked so much we don't really care. I knew a dude when I was growing up that had his house robbed so much, he moved and didn't tell anybody, but left some of the stuff so they would only rob that place. Bit by bit, consistently. And it feels like that's what we do with our data. We're like, they're gonna get it. Let's just parcel it out. And so you see these officials appear before Congress, and people all of a sudden are getting a very abstract interpretation of what war plans are. Because they're being asked point blank by journalists, like, were those war plans? And they were like, For a group that I'm telling you, I'm positive despises poetry majors. I know for a fact you hate liberal arts, but when they asked you to your face that they were war plans, it's like, what is truly? What is truly an outline of actions, if not enacted upon? Be fit for me? To speak truly of what war is. Does war not start in the soul? War as a concept is all around us. Love is war. Pain is war. Life is truly war. Yeah, but the text message where they said the date and the time and where the pilot was gonna be are those war plans. What does it mean to have a plan, you know? As Mike Tyson once said, everyone has a plan until they get punched in the face. As the old Southern proverb goes, if you want to make God laugh, tell him your plans. Got asked in front of Congress point blank. This was a huge mistake, right? I'm pretty sure it was Walls, maybe it was somebody else, but he was like, no. All right, bro. Okay, do you? Oh. Because I wish I knew enough about how intelligence works, and I wish that I knew enough about how strikes work to explain fully how bad this is. But I think we know. I think we as a society kind of know as soon as you hear the whole story, like, that doesn't sound great. You wouldn't want someone to plan a surprise party like that. Imagine. Your friends try to get you together, and they talking about you so much that one of your friends accidentally adds you, and it's like, well, he's right here. Doesn't that kind of ruin the entire party? No. So much around phones that people don't understand. There was one thing, I didn't understand this until recently. I didn't know that you don't know, you have no idea who you are to a woman until you know how you're saved in her phone. Guys, every man in here, we are not ready for the names, for the shorthand. You know how when you save a name, it goes first, last, company? They using that line too. We are not ready to find out how we are saved in the phone. Telling, that's what telling is. I wish I was wrong. I wish it was just me. I wish it was just me getting bullied in other women's phones. These are my friends. These are people I've known for years, and then they saved me some type of way and just never changed it. Years ago, this is why I first had a hunch. Years ago, I was with a friend, and we were hanging out. This has to be like 12, maybe even 15 years ago. We were hanging out, and she lost her phone. So she was like, can you call it for me? And so I call it. And look, we had never been romantic, you know? And we had decided a long time ago to just be friends, right? You know, and calling. I'm hearing a little... And then I find it in between the couch cushions, and my name saved at her phone was Nope. Guys, we're not ready. There's no world where we're ready for how we are saved. And okay, all right. Some of them are so accurate as well that it's like you'll never recover. Okay, I had a friend who, she was hooking up with this guy, and I guess it was a running joke between her and her friends. This is insane. To me, this is insane. It's not my joke. This is what I saw. This is what I saw because I was being nosy, because I was like, I can't be the only one. I needed to not be the only one, because nope lasted. That stayed with me, okay? So I was like, let me see what other people are saying, right? And they say this one guy in her phone, and it just said, Little Hitler. And I was like, can you please explain why Little Hitler is calling you right now? Their reasoning for naming, their reasoning was he had kind of a comb over that was a little messy. I was like, hey, you went straight to Hitler? What's wrong with y'all? There was one time where I was out to lunch with a friend, and her phone was going off, and it was facing up, and I wasn't trying to be nosy this time. I felt vindicated. Nope, it's not Hitler. And so I was like, it could be worse. And so her phone was going off, and then finally she went ahead and flipped it. But when she flipped it, she showed it for a second, and I looked, and it said in the phone, saved in her phone as bed bugs. And so I was like, I'm not trying to be in your business or anything. I'm not trying to. I saw when you flipped it over, because you had flipped it, because I wasn't looking until you flipped it until it was like this, and I was like, what's that over there? And so I didn't see until you flipped it that you had him say do you know who is bed bugs? And she was like, just this guy. I was like, does he have bed bugs? And no. He doesn't have bed bugs at his place. She called him bed bugs because she slept with him one time and can't get rid of him. And so when Walls is like, hey, sometimes people get added to the group chat under a different name, under a wrong name. Hadn't that ever happened to you? And then the nation was kind of like, no, I don't think it has. Not like that, not exactly, unless you have them saved different. You know what I mean? Unless you have this journalist saved as like War Buddy. I don't know why you would accidentally add him to the chat. It's one of the first major screw-ups of the administration where they themselves are actually like, oh no. Look, we didn't add him by accident, because I don't know if you saw this, but we didn't add him by accident, okay? He hacked in. Yeah, this dude hacked in. They ran with it for a day, and then it died. Because when you look at the journalist, I'm not trying to make fun of him, but he doesn't look like he really hacking like that. Like that. I know he got glasses, but not everybody with glasses hacks, all right? Jeez. And so now, they've been ordered by a judge to provide all of these backdated Signal chats that they're definitely going to delete. Like, when I heard that, I was like, oh, come on now. That's like in one of those sitcoms, and the woman asked the guy for his phone, and he's like, yeah, just give me 20 minutes. It's like, yeah, that's what they're going to do. No, it's insane. And it's like, successful mission, but by what metric? Why did we bomb Yemen? I still don't know. would keep asking, but I'd probably disappear. Curiosity killed me. And then when they were asked, like, okay, but you're definitely switching things up now, right? Like, you've learned from this mistake and you're gonna move on and you're not gonna use Signal anymore. And they, under, I think, oath, went, nah, dawg, nah. Pretty bad.